Hi everyone, Witchy Jekyll here, and I honestly just want to kind of be frustrated or complain again, honestly, because uh, Doomsday is an event in which is still really, really broken, honestly. Suggestions that gave during the beta were ignored. They did change some things, I don't really think for the better. Uh, One of my main complaints, uh, they did address a little bit. We did have a little update where supposedly we're getting more resource spots spawning, which I mean is great and all. But counterpoint to that, when you have gotten this far into week 3, most of your marches are going to be taken up in the garrison. So you have less marches available to even go to those spots, not to mention the mill. It really needs more resources in it. I don't know about you guys, but we are like decimating them because when you have a rather active faction where there's a lot of people in there, everybody's going to the mill obviously to get resources, so it's constantly going down. We don't have enough people that have the availability to put up a new one. Like, if we are going to have all the R4 slots and all that, I mean, I know typically it's officer thing to, put the mill, but honestly, if you're going to do an event like this, we need more people that have the ability to either put in a mill, or you need to add more resources to it so we aren't constantly having to rely on whenever a person, can get to it, because, believe it or not, we do have real lives outside of this game and we all can't just run and instantly put that up. And the reason I say that is because, part of the quest is, that you're having to do weekly is gathering resources. The mill actually, especially as we're getting into the later stages of Doomsday, is honestly where you're going to get the most resources because, again, back to my issue, we don't have enough marches. And yeah, in the base game, 5 marches is great. But if you're going to add the hounds and all of these other things that we need to be able to do, plus the fact that, we do need to be garrisoning things, then if we have this new tech tree, why can't the tech tree open up a few more marches? Honestly, that would be great because, we have people who have, just one march available because they have 4 other ones garrisoned. Uh, it just honestly makes the game frustrating to play. Plus, when you're doing your events for, the game, whether it be, the ones where you have to port back to the base level game, or the ones that like Speaker, which is now on the Doomsday map, which, might I add, is slightly annoying since, if you do have smaller bases in your alliance, which some people do, those bases can't even come over. So they're expected for an entire month to not be able to, do some of the events. And some of our bigger people can't even go back to do things like Dead Rising or Defensive Alliance because they have to stay in the map and garrisoning and watching the areas, because if they don't, then we leave ourselves open to being attacked. The events are just terrible. Which leads me to Wasteland King. If you are going to run a month long event where we are trapped between two different places, I do not understand why you can't just, for the two times that Wasteland King is going to come up, you don't just, it just doesn't pause. Or, as an alternative to that, maybe when we are in Doomsday on the days that you expect us to go and do Wasteland King, it has to be like for that 24 hours that Wasteland King is open, is like a ceasefire. Everybody has, some way to be able to go home, do their regular Wasteland King, and then can come back afterwards and do Doomsday. Just you can't attack on that day. Like, I know it's probably not that simple because they need to, you know, program it into the game or whatever. These are honestly just suggestions. You know, my line of work, I'm an artist, and, that is what I do personally. So, I don't do the computer thing. I don't know how difficult or anything else. But it's just a thing that is, like I said, this is me just being frustrating. I really, like, I want to give grace, but at the same time, I don't want to give grace because, like, I do get angry at the team because, we all do. It's just how it is. Uh, the other issue that we did bring up in the beta also has not been solved. So when you do, as some of you have probably found out, get governor of your state and all of that, well, you have the problem of titles. Titles are really hard to give out all of a sudden because if you're not on the base map, how are you going to give them? It is so difficult to give out titles. Like, you can do it. Obviously, our another alliance is um, the governor of our state, or else I would, show you more like how it can be done. But there are ways around it. But it is incredibly annoying and oftentimes leads to where you have to be constantly jumping back and forth when it really should not be that difficult to give out titles. But, it is. It's a frustrating thing. And depending on how your particular state handles titles, ours, if you participate, it's written down and we give you a title for like 24 hours. So, you know, throughout the entire 2 weeks between, every day we're having to go in and, it's more difficult, especially, because in our state people change their name and stuff like that. So, yes, you might have their name at one point, but if someone is changing their name, then that becomes another can of worms because it's not as easy as just finding them, on the map because you just happen to know where they should be or anything like that. Sorry if you hear the click clacking in the background. That's my dog being crazy. Uh, but, these are just some of the things that have been and have always been really frustrating about Doomsday to me, especially when you get to week 3, which it just seems like it just, when you're starting out, it's not as bad, but as you open up more things and stuff like that, it just compounds it. And uh, I like, I want to like this event, I really do, because it's something new that, is out there, and I like doing new things. But if it is honestly so difficult to enjoy the game because you're having to constantly be frustrated by things, then it's not really a good player experience. And honestly, I feel like the beta was rushed. Uh, this the way they do things has been rushed. Yes, they are listening and adding some changes here and there, but it ultimately feels like it's a broken part of the game that you're trying to enjoy, but it's just like you can't. I mean, I don't want to be such a downer on it because, like, when you are doing the things in there, like the battles and stuff like that, it actually is a really fun game, and it is an event that, like, honestly has brought some, fun back into the game. It's just these odd little frustrations that make it not as fun, and it makes it almost seem like a job instead of a game. And I like when I, am playing this game, I don't want to feel like I'm having to work to play it because honestly, I'm coming to the game to hang out with people that I've become friends with, and I want to have fun with them. But if all we're getting is frustration from everybody and everybody's complaining about this and that, it's honestly it's a very not fun experience. And maybe you have had a different one, and if you have, then like that's awesome. And maybe give me tips on how to make this you know event feel better. But it just feels like I think it's too long, honestly, for what it is. And I think that's just part of it is once it's out of like the 2 week part, it's like, okay, we're in the third week and we have another week of this to, go. So for what it is right now, it's just too long. Things are still difficult to do between the base game and the, Doomsday map. Like I said, I want to love this. I really do. But it just feels like two different games being slammed together, and like there's no consideration for the mechanics of how they will actually meld together. Which I meant, yes, I know Doomsday does not last forever. It's only a month long, but when you're already used to doing things and those events don't end, that's where we are seeing a lot of frustration. Um, I would love to hear all of you guys' thoughts and opinions on what you are enjoying about Doomsday because, some of you, this is your first time doing it. This is my second time. So, I'm feeling the same way I did about it last time when we got to week 3. I'm just kind of like over it at this point, and I just want to go back to having just the base game because I don't have to try to get as many people, hyped up to play the events. And then you get people that are like, well, I'm garrisoned in 5 different things, so I'm not even going to bother showing up for the event. This is, dumb and stuff like that. So, it ends up with a lot more complaining. Is your group doing that? Or are you guys finding, new ways to get around it? I mean, I know there are some alliances out there that are just not even participating in Doomsday at all. And, some that are, but are still experiencing the same things that they did before. Yeah, they added some shiny new things, and, those things are kind of cool, but again, the novelty wears off really quickly. So, leave a comment, give me your opinion and how you feel, and I hope you guys have a good day. All right, bye.